What if everything you've ever believed meant nothing? What if there's no grand design, no higher purpose, no ultimate truth? What if life itself is just a brief spark in an indifferent universe? This isn't just a question, it's a philosophy, a worldview, a confrontation with the abyss. Welcome to nihilism, one of the darkest and most honest ideas in human history. In this video, we'll go deep. What is nihilism? Where did it come from? And what do we do when nothing has meaning? Chapter 1. What is nihilism? What if everything you believe in is an illusion? What if nothing, truly nothing, has meaning? Not life, not death, not love, not morality, not even truth itself. Welcome to nihilism, a word that sounds dark, even dangerous, but what does it actually mean? Let's start at the beginning. The word nihilism comes from the Latin nihil, meaning nothing. At its core, nihilism is the belief that there is no inherent meaning in life, no objective truth, no universal moral code. It's not just a feeling of emptiness, it's a philosophical position, a worldview, a confrontation with the void behind our assumptions. In simple terms, there is no higher purpose, no absolute good or evil, no fixed truth, no ultimate why. It doesn't mean everything is false, it means nothing is guaranteed. Nihilism isn't one idea, it's a constellation of related positions. Here are the main types. Metaphysical nihilism, the belief that reality, at its most fundamental level, might not even exist. Some interpretations go so far as to deny the existence of objects altogether, a radical skepticism about being itself. Epistemological nihilism, the view that knowledge is impossible. We can't truly know anything, not because we haven't tried hard enough, but because the structure of reality resists certainty. Moral nihilism, there is no objective right or wrong. Morality is just human convention, a social construct, not a universal truth. One person's evil is another's necessary good. Existential nihilism, perhaps the most common form today, the belief that life itself has no inherent meaning, no cosmic plan, no divine purpose, no final goal. We're here and then we're gone. Each type of nihilism challenges a different pillar of human belief. Before going further, it's important to clear up a myth. Nihilism is not just despair, it is not apathy, it is not depression. Yes, it can lead to those things, but philosophical nihilism is not necessarily hopeless. In fact, for some, it's liberating. It removes the pressure to live up to a divine standard. It strips away illusions. It clears the stage, so you can build something real. Think of nihilism as a demolition. It tears down inherited meaning. But what you build next is up to you. Nihilism is everywhere, even if we don't use the word. When people say, "What's the point?" that's existential nihilism. When someone says, "Truth is relative," that's epistemological nihilism. When someone believes all values are made up, that's moral nihilism. Nihilism is the quiet voice inside modern life. It's what happens when belief collapses, but nothing replaces it. Chapter 2. The history of nihilism. Let's take a journey from ancient Greece to modern despair. Even in ancient times, some thinkers were already pulling at the threads of reality. Gorgias of Leontonoi, 5th century BCE, a Greek sophist, famously declared, "Nothing exists. If anything does exist, it cannot be known. If it can be known, it cannot be communicated." That's an extreme version of epistemological nihilism, the denial of knowledge, existence, and communication. Other early skeptics like Pyrrho of Elis, ca. 360 to 270 BCE, argued that certainty is impossible. His solution: suspend judgment, stay calm, don't claim to know. While they didn't use the word nihilism, these philosophers planted the seeds of radical doubt. During the Middle Ages, the dominant worldview was religious. In Christian Europe, life had a divine order. Morality, purpose, and meaning were defined by God. Doubt was considered dangerous, even heretical, but beneath the surface, whispers of nihilism remained. In Christian mysticism, thinkers like Meister Eckhart spoke of a God beyond all names, forms, and even being itself. Some of his ideas brushed up against a kind of spiritual nothingness, a stripping away of all certainty to reach the divine. But open nihilism, that was unthinkable. To reject God and meaning entirely was seen as a direct path to madness or damnation. Then came the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the birth of science. The world shifted from faith to reason. But as science explained more, mystery faded, and for some, so did meaning. David Hume, 1711 to 1776, showed that cause and effect are not logically certain, just habitual expectations. He questioned the basis of morality and religion. Immanuel Kant followed with an even deeper blow. We can never know things in themselves. We only experience appearances shaped by our minds. The real world is forever hidden. The foundation of knowledge shook, and the stage was set for nihilism. The word nihilism first exploded into public awareness in 19th-century Russia. In Ivan Turgenev's 1862 novel Fathers and Sons, the character Bazarov describes himself as a nihilist, someone who rejects all authority, all tradition, all moral codes. A nihilist is a man who bows to no authority, who accepts no principle on faith, no matter how revered. This was more than philosophy. It became a movement. Young radicals in Russia adopted nihilism to reject the Tsar, the church, the aristocracy, everything. They sought a new world, cleansed by destruction. Some turned to terrorism and revolution. It was political nihilism, a furious no to all that had failed. No one explored nihilism more deeply or more dangerously than Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. He saw nihilism as the great crisis of Western civilization. His most famous line, "God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him." Nietzsche didn't mean God literally died. He meant the belief in absolute meaning, morality, and truth is dying. Science, secularism, and doubt have dissolved the old foundations. And now humanity faces a terrifying vacuum. Nietzsche warned of two outcomes: passive nihilism, resignation, apathy, depression, the soul shrinks. Active nihilism, destruction for the sake of creating something new. The soul rebels. His solution? The Übermensch. The overman, who invents new values, creates meaning from within, and lives beyond conventional morality. Nietzsche saw nihilism not as the end, but as a gateway, a test. Either we collapse or we evolve. After Nietzsche, the world descended into chaos. World War I, the Great Depression. World War II, the Holocaust, the atomic bomb. Old values shattered. God was silent. Millions were dead. Existentialists like Sartre, Camus, and Heidegger confronted the abyss. Sartre argued, man is condemned to be free. There is no God, no given purpose, only radical freedom and responsibility. Camus introduced the idea of the absurd. Our search for meaning meets a mute, indifferent universe. His answer? Live anyway, rebel, create, love, without illusions. Meanwhile, totalitarian ideologies, fascism, communism, rose and fell, often fueled by the same nihilistic void they claim to fill. In the late 20th century, nihilism took a new form, postmodernism. Here, meaning itself is fragmented. Philosophers like Michel Foucault questioned history, power, and truth. Jacques Derrida deconstructed language, showing how words never fully capture reality. Jean Baudrillard declared we now live in a world of simulacra, copies of copies, with no original. Postmodernism doesn't mourn the loss of meaning, it plays with it. It's ironic, cynical, a world where nothing is sacred and everything is up for remix. Some found this liberating, others disorienting. It's a soft form of nihilism, without horror, without hope, just detachment. And today, we live in a world that is more connected, more informed, and often more disoriented than ever. Religions coexist, compete, or fade. Truth is politicized. Morality is personalized. Identity is fluid. We scroll endlessly, consume constantly, perform publicly, and yet many quietly whisper, "What's the point?" Digital nihilism, corporate nihilism, emotional numbness. These aren't rare, they're common. But once again, the history of nihilism is not just about collapse, it's also about transformation. Chapter 3. The Dark Side of Nihilism. Nihilism. To some, it sounds like freedom, intellectual liberation, a philosophy that strips away illusion and dares to ask what really matters. But nihilism also has a dark, dangerous side, a side that can paralyze us, that can corrode the soul and society alike, that whispers, "Why bother?" Let's face that darkness. Imagine waking up and feeling nothing. No goal, no meaning, no direction. You go through the day in a fog. You ask yourself, why get up at all? This isn't theory. For millions of people, it's reality. Existential nihilism, the belief that life has no inherent meaning, can become a heavy emotional burden, especially when it's not just an idea but a felt experience. Common signs: lack of motivation, depression, emotional numbness, a sense of meaninglessness, isolation. The problem isn't the pain, it's the emptiness. David Foster Wallace. For many, nihilism isn't a philosophy, it's a condition. A quiet void that grows inside. If nothing is objectively right or wrong, why be moral? Moral nihilism says there are no absolute moral truths. Right and wrong are human inventions, relative, situational, fluid. But if taken to the extreme, this attitude can lead to ethical decay. Historical examples: totalitarian regimes that actively rejected traditional ethics to enforce new, brutal ideologies, extremists who justified violence by rejecting all inherited values. Fyodor Dostoevsky warned, "If God does not exist, then everything is permitted." This isn't just religious panic, it points to a real danger. If nothing is binding, then anything becomes possible. And often that anything includes cruelty, selfishness, or apathy. In our modern world, nihilism isn't rare, it might be the norm. We see it everywhere. Cynicism, everything is mocked. Nothing is sacred. Irony, real emotions are avoided. Everything is a joke. Distraction, meaning is replaced by consumption, entertainment, dopamine. Sociologist Zygmunt Bauman described our age as the liquid modernity, a world with no solid foundations, no permanent structures, no lasting identity. Everything flows, everything fades. It's freedom without anchor. Philosopher Jean Baudrillard warned of hyperreality, a world where simulation becomes more real than reality itself. What happens when we stop believing in anything? We settle for anything. Nietzsche made an important distinction: active nihilism, a force that wants to destroy in order to create. Passive nihilism, a slow, quiet surrender. Passive nihilism is the most dangerous form. It doesn't rage or rebel. It simply gives up. It says, "Why fight? What's the point?" It's the person who continues to live, but has stopped hoping, dreaming, caring. This isn't dramatic. It's silent. And that's what makes it so haunting. Interestingly, nihilism has become aestheticized. In music, film, fashion, literature, we often see a glorification of darkness, of despair, of death. Black clothing, cold imagery, apocalyptic themes, lyrics about numbness, pain, detachment. Characters who drift through life without belief or direction. It's as if entire generations are not just thinking nihilism, but living and performing it. And often, it's not just an edgy look, it's a real reflection of inner emptiness. Albert Camus wrote, "There is only one truly serious philosophical problem, suicide. If life has no meaning, why continue?" This question isn't poetic, it's urgent. Nihilism can lead to deep despair. For some, it becomes unbearable. Camus' answer wasn't to deny the absurd, but to defy it, to live, not because life makes sense, but precisely because it doesn't. Still, we must acknowledge, the edge is real, and for many, it's dangerously close. If you or someone you know is struggling with these thoughts, you are not alone. Please seek help. Meaning may not exist out there, but it can still be built. Chapter 5. Can you live with nihilism? Nihilism tells us there is no meaning, no purpose, no ultimate good, no higher reason. This isn't a small claim, it's a deep existential shock. So the question is, can we live with that truth? Or is nihilism the end of all orientation? The answer is, yes, we can live with it, but it takes courage and a radical shift in perspective. Most people spend their lives searching for meaning outside themselves, in religion, in their country, in their work, in their family, in consumption. But when all these structures collapse, when meaning disappears from the outside, there's only one place left to look, within. Nihilism means the world gives you no meaning, but that opens a possibility you can become the creator of meaning. A quote by Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. He believed even in suffering, we can find meaning, not because suffering is good, but because we give it meaning through our attitude. Albert Camus is the philosopher who most directly faced nihilism head-on. He starts with the most radical question, should I kill myself? If life has no objective meaning, why keep living? Camus' answer is powerful. We should not flee from the absurd. We should confront it. The universe is silent. It doesn't respond. But that's precisely why Camus says, meaning doesn't lie in the result, but in the act of resistance. We are like Sisyphus, eternally pushing the rock uphill. But Camus concludes we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because he doesn't surrender, because he lives despite the absurd. This is the dignity of the human being, not meaning from above, but meaning through defiance. Nietzsche didn't see nihilism only as a threat, he saw it as a doorway. He wrote, "Nihilism is standing at the door. Whence comes the strongest light? When the old values collapse, it's not the end, it's the beginning." Nietzsche's call was this: create your own values, don't seek meaning, make it. Become the Übermensch, the human who lives creatively, courageously and freely. This doesn't mean selfishness, it means responsibility. Responsibility for your own soul and for the shape of your life. If nothing has fixed meaning, why not live as an artist? Imagine. You're not the recipient of a divine plan. You are the author of your story. Not an object, but a creator. This mindset runs through existential philosophy, but also art, music, and modern life. You decide what matters. You choose how to live. You carry the responsibility for yourself and for others. Nihilism is the collapse of commandments, but that collapse creates a blank canvas, and the brush is in your hand. Not everyone needs to fight or create new philosophies. Some deal with nihilism through something else, calm acceptance. The ironic nihilist says, if nothing matters, then why take anything too seriously? This approach shows up in pop culture. The Big Lebowski, the dude, lives freely. No plan, no panic, just peace. Rick and Morty, a show that laughs at the meaninglessness of the cosmos. Sure, this attitude can turn into cynicism, but it can also be soothing, a remedy against pressure, perfectionism, and burnout. If nothing is absolute, why tear yourself apart? Some nihilists say, I drink my coffee, love a little, make music, that's enough. And maybe they're right. Nihilism brings freedom, but freedom is not a gift, it's a task. Because if no higher authority tells you how to live, then you must choose. What do you care about? What is good to you? What is bad? What legacy do you want to leave, even if no one rewards you? There is no universal answer, but that doesn't mean there's no answer at all. Nihilism is like a blank page. Some see emptiness, others see a chance to write something beautiful.